How are you going to be responsible with managing $250,000 when you have never earned or even touched $250,000 in your entire life? So business funding is not a real thing. Business funding is just a quick get-rich fad for people who don't really understand how money works. People always say, I'm going to turn credit into cash, when the wealthy actually do the exact opposite. They turn their cash into credit. That's what the wealthy do.
When you first get a bag, you don't know money. Got old money, got some new money.
Welcome to the Plug Talk Podcast, the podcast that give you real game on the original OPM, Our People Money. And today's episode is about business funding, because there's a lot of half-truths surrounding business funding. And today I'm going to give you that plug talk that's uncut, not stepped on, and unfiltered about business funding. Now, business funding is a sensationalized term that defines a credit card attached to an LLC. That's only what it is. The business funding that you may hear online is not to be confused with an SBA loan, a government loan, or some type of loan that's investor friendly to help scale and grow your business. Most times when people are referring to business funding, they are referring to a credit card, just a credit card attached to an LLC. And it's very important to understand that. Why? Because credit card debt is the worst type of debt you can ever have. Why? It's because it don't have any collateral behind it. So that means that because the bank don't have a way of getting the money back from you, because it's not collateralized behind an asset, they're gonna charge you the highest market rates. Normally, a regular credit card typically have an interest rate of 25%. 25%. And that is a conversation that needs to be had when we're talking about the cost of money. So a lot of people say, oh, don't use your own money. Use OPM, which is business credit. And I understand the concept that Robert Kiyosaki, the Grant Cardones of the world, high-level real estate professionals use, but it's not the one you're referring to. So you always want to have a situation where your money is growing at a higher interest rate than what you're paying to leverage other people's money. But most times, people don't even have money to begin with. So when you're leveraging OPM and you don't have any money, that's not business funding. That's actually debt. You're in bad debt. Not to mention the fact that the business model that you have is not proven. It's not executable model that produces cash flow. Because a real business model that's backed by real business funding, you're going to have a model to show that you already have proven cash flow, proven positive revenue, and you'll be able to explain why you need this funding and capital to go grow and scale your business. So if you don't have to do that, chances are that it's not real business funding. Now, if you need short-term capital for different things, that's a different thing. That's another thing. That's not business funding. So yes, I have used business funding in the past. And one of the ways where I feel like business funding can fit is if you already have a deal that's lucrative and profitable, and you don't want to lose that deal, so you can use the short-term capital to fix up an investment property that you already know have equity already inside of it. That's a good investment. You can flip it, pay off the credit cards, pay off the funding, and keep a profit for yourself. But a lot of times people get caught up in saying that, oh, I have 12 months, 18 months worth of business funding, and they leveraging it for long-term business ventures. But when that 0% period is up, now you're getting hit with a 25% interest rate, and your minimum payment is going to increase over 1,000%. I've seen this happen multiple times. So the idea that you using other people's money is not a real thing. All you're doing is going into bad debt. See, you probably see on social media, on Instagram, somebody that's winning with funding, and that's not the case. But even if that's true, 1 out of every 100 people that's using business funding that's successful is not a good rate. Most people that use funding have a 99% failure rate. But that's not sensationalized. That's not talked about. In actuality, you're actually putting yourself further back from financial freedom, where you would have had a better chance to actually build wealth if you would have saved diligently and put your money to good use and in the right vehicles where you can actually use it for collateral to go build wealth, where you don't have to make a payment. And that's a high level wealth strategy that I teach. But a lot of times we get caught up with these get rich quick type of things, and I'm going to get $250,000 in 90 days. But you got to ask yourself this: how are you going to be responsible with managing $250,000 when you have never earned or even touched $250,000 in your entire life? but you think you're going to get $250,000 in 90 days and just so happen to have a good investment. Now, let's say on $250,000 at a 22% interest rate, now you're paying $5,000 of interest cost to the banks. That's not paying down the actual debt that you owe. So now you're telling me you have a business model that you can literally take upon all the expenses to even run the business and take on an extra $5,000 of cost and make a profit. If you had that, then guess what? You wouldn't need business funding. If you had that idea that can really take you to the next level to surpass a $5,000 interest cost on top of regular entrepreneurship, business owner overhead and still come out profitable, then you wouldn't need it. In actuality, you would be the person to go to investors and have people invest into your business. So business funding is not a real thing. Business funding is just a quick get rich fad for people who don't really understand how money works. So I really wanted to just take the time out and explain what business funding is, because I've seen people who is not the right type of person or don't have the real knowledge or have half truths behind business funding, and now they put themselves in a bad position. And now that very person that actually gave you the funding, they don't have any game plan to get you out of debt. They don't have that. So if you're going to be that person to actually leverage business funding, here's what I suggest. I suggest that you have an investment that you already know that's very profitable and lucrative that you can fix and flip and get rid of and turn to cash flow immediately within 30 days. You do not use business funding for long-term investments. 2, if you're going to use other people's money in credit cards and credit card debt, make sure that your personal finances matches up to where you can make and sustain that payment and it don't put you further behind. Because using OPM does not exclude you from having your own money, the original OPM, your own money, our people's money. So when you have other people's money without having your own money, that is debt. That is not a wealth strategy that people like the Robert Kiyosaki's of the world, the Grant Cardones of the world, they use. If you look at certain interviews with Grant Cardone, some of his real estate properties are paid off using cash. So it's not a one size fits all. Most importantly, you're using the wrong type of product for the strategy. So all you're doing is getting tricked up your spot. And you could ask, maybe sometimes, more times than not, the person that's getting you funding, ask them, are they using business funding for their business? No, they're not. They're using cash and capital in other ways to scale their business while they give you the bad debt. So now what you're doing is that you're giving away your wealth, your accumulation, your money to somebody else because you let somebody trick you into thinking that Robert Kiyosaki and Grant Cardones of the world is the ones that use the strategy. And people always say, I'm going to turn credit into cash, when the wealthy actually do the exact opposite. They turn their cash into credit. That's what the wealthy do. The wealthy actually turn their cash into credit, and it's good credit, meaning that it's low investor friendly rates with low payments that can actually don't affect their cash flow. They can keep their cash flow free to go and invest in other things, and they can make that payment perpetually without going bankrupt or being under financial stress. So I really wanted to just share this information around business funding because it's not what you think it is. All it is a credit card with the highest rates that's not collateralized, and you can be bankrupt and put yourself further back, further than what you could ever imagine because of that. So I help people get out of bad debt every day. That's what I do in my practice. So if you're a person that has been struggling to pay off credit card debt, business funding, you have a mortgage and you want to eliminate, reach out to me directly. I have an actual product you can use, a software that will get you out of debt faster than you could ever imagine. So I'm not a person that's going to talk about the problem without having a solution. So if you're serious about getting yourself out of financial troubles and really experiencing debt freedom, make sure you comment the word debt freedom in the comment section, and I'm going to give you a link to a free savings report and how to get yourself out of debt in record time. Let's get it.
We make it double up, turn 1 to 2 money. Got new money, got some old money. Green lighting on the business, that's a gold money. Got old money, got some new money.